Shortly before the ceremony, my wedding gown was unexpectedly swapped with an oversized, inexpensive dress. As my future sister-in-law smirked at me, commenting that the dress suited me better, my fiancé chuckled and remarked, "You'll wear whatever my family wants." Nevertheless, I maintained a smile as I approached the altar, grabbed the microphone, and delivered an announcement that stunned everyone in the room. I believed that appearances were important, but I thought that if I was kind, polite, and respectful, people would eventually warm up to me. I made a conscious effort to fit in, even saving up for my wedding dress on my own, without accepting financial help from anyone. The gown I chose was a beautiful fitted satin and lace design with a low back and delicate pearl buttons running all the way down. The train was just the right length, making me feel special when I tried it on in the boutique. As my wedding day approached, I entrusted my dress to the venue's secured bridal suite with locked garment closets, as they were experienced in handling such occasions and assured me of its safety. On the morning of the wedding, filled with excitement and nerves, I arrived early with my bridesmaids to get ready. After some fun moments of makeup, mimosas, and laughter, the time came to put on my dress. As I approached the closet where it should have been, suspended in place was not the dress I had chosen. Instead, an unfamiliar garment caught my eye. It was difficult to even put into words. The material appeared inexpensive, akin to something you might grab at a costume store for Halloween. This white gown was plain, oversized, and unflattering, adorned with plastic buttons. Still sporting its tag, it bore the mark of a lesser-known brand and was several sizes too large for me. Initially, I suspected a mix-up had occurred. Upon contacting the event planner, I was assured that the dress had been secured the entire time. Meanwhile, my maid of honor, Jess, was attempting to contact the boutique, the flurry of activity unfolding around me. I stood motionless, bewildered. Suddenly, Mark's sister, Rachel, entered the room. Rachel had never warmed to me. She exuded an air of traditionalism and had made it evident from the start that she didn't see me as a suitable match for her brother. My career in digital marketing, modest upbringing, and understated demeanor did not align with her expectations. Upon laying eyes on the subpart dress, Rachel wore a knowing smile. It wasn't a look of confusion or pity, but rather one of smug satisfaction. With a sneer, she remarked, "That attire suits you better anyway." I asked her what she meant. She just raised her eyebrows and said, "Our family has a certain standard you'll understand once you're married in." I'm standing there, still in my robe, and I could feel my face heating up. I told her that someone needed to get my actual dress, and she just walked out like she didn't have time for my attitude. At this point, I was shaking. I had this horrible pit in my stomach, and all I could think was, Mark will fix this, he'll step in. He wouldn't let this happen. I had someone go get him. He came in about 5 minutes later, already dressed in his tux, looking calm and relaxed. I told him what happened. I pointed to the dress and said someone swapped mine. "Where is my actual dress?" He looked at it and laughed. He actually laughed. He said, "It's just a dress, you're making a big deal out of nothing." I said, "Mark, this isn't the dress I bought. This isn't even close." He said, "And I swear I'll never forget this. You'll wear whatever my family wants, you're marrying into." The realization struck me like a bolt of lightning. It wasn't a mistake, it wasn't an accident. Someone in that family, perhaps Mark, his sister, or even his mom, had intentionally swapped my dress to embarrass me. This calculated move was a display of power, and Mark appeared to be complicit in the scheme. I locked eyes with him, silent yet resolute. Without a word, I strode past him and back into the suite where my bridesmaids and other family members awaited. I summoned Jess to assist me in donning the substitute dress, a task she reluctantly undertook, sensing my intentions. Proceeding down the hallway past the bustling vendors and guests gathering for the ceremony, I garnered smiles from onlookers who assumed it was all part of the plan. Unbeknownst to them, a storm was brewing within me. As the music began and the officiants stood at the altar, Mark's grin and Rachel's smirk fueled my determination. Despite the expected gazes, I deviated from convention as I halted at the aisle, turned to face the assembled crowd, and reached for. Microphone in hand, the DJ intended for announcements, whispers began to spread through the gathering crowd. I watched as phones were raised to capture the unfolding moment. Addressing the assembled guests, I expressed my gratitude for their presence on this day, acknowledging their anticipation of a joyous wedding celebration. Complete with elegant attire, heartfelt vows, and beautiful flowers, I revealed the truth of the situation. This was not a cause for celebration, at least not for me. The gown I wore had been swapped at the last moment, a deliberate act carried out by a member of the groom's family. When I confronted Mark, he callously dismissed my concerns, asserting that I would wear what his family dictated. In that moment, my decision became clear. I would not marry into a family that condoned such deceitful tactics. Though I may lack wealth or powerful connections, my integrity remains intact, and that is something I refuse to compromise. Returning the microphone, I made my declaration and made my exit. Walking away from the wedding venue, dressed in the unfamiliar and uncomfortable attire, I assumed that the most difficult part was behind me. Little did I know, the true challenges lay ahead. I bypassed the bridal suite, choosing not to retrieve my belongings or change out of the despised garment. Leaving the building, still clad in the symbolic garment that represented deception and betrayal, I embarked on an uncertain journey of self-discovery and liberation. Jess, my maid of honor, rushed over to me and handed me my purse. Without speaking, we drove to her apartment in silence. It wasn't until we arrived that we finally exchanged words. Jess poured me a glass of water as I sat on her couch, silently contemplating what had just happened. The reality of the situation had not fully sunk in yet, and I was feeling numb. Suddenly, my phone began buzzing incessantly with texts, calls, and voicemails flooding in from both our families and Mark. My mother, who was clueless about the unfolding events, frantically messaged me in all caps, demanding to know what was going on. Feeling overwhelmed, I told Jess that I needed some time alone. She gave me a comforting hug and retreated to her guest room, leaving me to my thoughts. Exhausted and emotionally drained, I collapsed on the bed, still wearing the cheap gown. I succumbed to tears until exhaustion took over, and I drifted into a troubled sleep. As I woke up to more than 70 missed calls, I discovered a voicemail from Rachel that cut deep. Her harsh words echoed in my mind, belittling my actions and tarnishing my reputation. However, the most shocking revelation was yet to come. My true faithful. The wedding dress had been located when a member of the venue staff sent me a text with a photo. To my shock, my dress had been crammed into a garbage bag and concealed behind a locked janitor closet at the rear of the venue. Someone had deliberately hidden it in a place where it wouldn't easily be found. This discovery brought me to tears once more. It was apparent that this was not a mere prank or accidental mix-up. It had been a deliberate act. I inquired with the staff about security footage, but they mentioned that only specific areas were under surveillance and that they needed to consult management. After a 2-day wait, they contacted me with an update. They had indeed captured footage of someone wearing a hoodie sneaking into the bridal suite at 5 o'clock a.m. on the morning of the wedding, before the staff arrived, and exiting shortly after carrying what appeared to be a garment bag for a white dress. When I reported the incident to the police and they reviewed the footage, they cautioned me not to raise my hopes, explaining that because it was a family occasion, the potential suspect could be anyone. A few days later, Mark arrived at my apartment unannounced. I declined to let him in, and we conversed in the hallway. Ed appeared exhausted, appearing as though he hadn't slept a wink since the wedding. However, his fatigue was of little concern to me. I boldly confronted him, questioning whether he was aware that his family had replaced my dress. Instead of an immediate response, he simply let out a heavy sigh before explaining they were concerned that the original dress was too revealing. My mom believed it didn't adhere to tradition respectfully enough. I stood there, utterly dumbfounded by his revelation. Continuing, he divulged, she spoke to Rachel, and I suppose they collectively decided it would be more appropriate for you to wear something more modest. In disbelief, I retorted, so you were aware of this? It conceded. I didn't anticipate they would actually go through with it, but when I saw the replacement, I didn't object. I'd assumed you would be understanding. Understand? They had taken my dress without consent, substituted it, embarrassed me in front of our guests, and he expected me to comprehend. I demanded that he leave and informed him that I never wished to see him again. Shortly thereafter, Jess posted a snippet of my speech on TikTok without my prompting, and within hours, it had gone viral. Commenters flooded in with praises such as queen behavior, run, girl, run, and she evaded a whole generational curse. A video was eventually shared by several weddings. Blogs and the local Chicago news site covered the story. Initially, I maintained anonymity while Mark's sister did not. She took to Instagram to post furious stories claiming I was unstable, had destroyed her brother's life, and emphasizing the importance of family. However, she underestimated the internet's investigative abilities, as within a week, someone uncovered details from her wedding registry, workplace, and even past videos where she prioritized family traditions over emotions. Strangers began reaching out to me with screenshots, revealing that others had witnessed her similar behavior in the past. One individual shared that Rachel had once made a last-minute change to her maid of honor dress at her wedding because she didn't like the style. a recurring behavior pattern. A week after the incident, I received an anonymous email with a brief message and two attachments, one of which was a screenshot of a group chat involving Mark, Rachel, and their mother that hinted at who was behind the plan. They had been discussing my dress for weeks leading up to the wedding. In the group chat, Rachel expressed that she felt it was too extravagant and suggested finding an alternative. Mark feared my reaction, but my mom reassured him that I would come around, and they planned to change the dress early with the help of the makeup team. Reading those messages repeatedly left me breathless. Mark, aware of the situation, actively participated in the scheme. This is my current reality. I am seeking legal advice, collaborating with the venue and law enforcement to explore my options. I have collected evidence in the form of screenshots, videos, and security footage. I haven't disclosed everything publicly yet, but the temptation is strong. Whoever orchestrated this attempt to shame me has underestimated my resilience. The future remains uncertain, and my actions are undecided. However, one thing is clear: I refuse to remain silent any longer. After receiving that email, I sat on the floor of my dimly lit apartment, illuminated by the laptop screen, immersing myself in the group chat screenshot until my eyes ached. Mark was not just a bystander in this situation. He actively participated in planning everything. Those evenings he bid me goodnight with a kiss, discussed our future together, and inquired about our honeymoon arrangements. It was all a facade. Yet what hurt me the most was not the act of betrayal itself, but my own self-doubt. I had almost convinced myself that perhaps I was overreacting, that the situation was a mere misunderstanding, that there was no intentional deceit involved. In reality, everything was orchestrated right from the start, and I was completely unaware of the full extent of the deception. 2 nights after receiving the anonymous email, I received a message from Mark's cousin, Alyssa. Our interactions had been limited to family gatherings, mostly casual exchanges. She began her message with, "I understand if you'd rather not hear from someone within our family, but I feel compelled to share something with you." Alyssa proceeded to reveal that the incident with the dress was not solely about modesty or tradition, but rather about asserting control. Supposedly, Mark's family did not believe I brought anything of value to the relationship. They disapproved of my lack of wealth and strong opinions. They found me to be challenging, too self-reliant, and too assertive. They believed that by humiliating me and breaking my spirit before the wedding, I would be more manageable. Alyssa revealed overhearing discussions between Rachel and her mother about the need to tame me, claiming that women like me must be softened before becoming suitable wives. This shocking revelation prompted Alyssa to offer her support and testimony if needed. With Jess's assistance, I began investigating further, scouring through a multitude of communications including texts, emails, and shared planning documents. In an old shared document related to the wedding, I stumbled upon a concealed comment within the dress fitting section. Rachel had written, "Confirm final fitting location. Perhaps we should consider a backup plan." This new discovery left me speechless. When it had been hidden, but it was there. She'd been planning this for months. I even remembered a time during the rehearsal dinner week when Rachel asked weirdly specific questions about my dress storage plans. And there it was, right in front of me. This was never about a misunderstanding. This was a trap. Someone leaked my story to a local Chicago gossip page. At first, I was pissed. But then I realized it was Rachel. The post was written in a tone that tried to make me look crazy, like I was some drama queen who made a scene because I didn't like the wedding vibe. It claimed I had a meltdown over nothing and that I faked the sub outage for attention. But she screwed up. She used a fake Reddit screenshot with a username I had never used. One of the top comments called it out. Then another person posted a side-by-side comparing the real TikTok video and the details from the gossip page, and they didn't match. The tide shifted fast. The comment section turned against Rachel. People started tagging me, Sin. That means someone had access for nearly 3 hours before anyone noticed. The venue confirmed that early access was granted. As I uncovered more information, messages, root chats, anonymous emails, venue access, and video footage, I realized I had stumbled upon valuable evidence. It wasn't just about a dress anymore. It was about individuals attempting to manipulate and humiliate others without consequence. They had gotten away with it in the past, but not this time. I took action by consulting a lawyer and providing him with all the evidence: screenshots, video recordings, footage of the dress thief, and an email from Mark's mom requesting early venue access. The lawyer was shocked and recognized it as one of the most egregious cases of pre-wedding sabotage he had encountered. He informed me that I had a strong case not only for emotional distress, but also for fraud and damages. I had documentation for every expense incurred, including the dress venue and vendors, amounting to thousands of dollars wasted due to their actions. Subsequently, I engaged with wedding blogs and a TikTok account to share my story and seek support. After being contacted by sources, I revealed the true story in a straightforward and honest manner. I chose not to divulge names at first, opting to prioritize sharing the reality of the situation. The response was overwhelming, with millions of views and thousands of comments on the post. While most reactions were supportive, some individuals expressed anger and a few attempted to defend Mark and his family, although their voices were quickly overshadowed. Subsequently, a reporter from a local Chicago newspaper, followed by a podcast and a morning TV show, reached out to me. I patiently allowed the controversy to escalate. In a concise post, I disclosed names, actions, messages, and faces, accompanied by screenshots from the group chat, a voicemail from Rachel, messages from Mark, an email from his mother, and the venue's confirmation. I revealed the truth about their behavior. The story quickly gained momentum, leading to Rachel and Mark's mother deleting their social media accounts. Mark made a feeble attempt at an apology, but it only made matters worse. People flooded his workplace's social media platforms, causing clients to sever ties with the PR firm he worked for, which had previously boasted. In a twist of fate regarding ethical storytelling, the firm swiftly terminated him after just 3 days. Rachel's employment at a private school was jeopardized as concerned parents reached out to the board, resulting in her being asked to resign. The family's reputation was heavily tarnished in the public eye. Reflecting on my own oversight, I chose to overlook the warning signs of Mark's family's controlling nature, believing I could maintain harmony. I naively thought that by proving my worth, they would eventually accept me. However, I learned the hard way that I was mistaken. I sacrificed time, money, and a part of myself by conforming to their expectations over the years. Despite my error, I took responsibility and rectified the situation, leaving them to face the repercussions of their actions. As it turned out, the early access to the venue was obtained through forgery, as Mark's mother had falsified a vendor's signature to gain entry, constituting a criminal offense. The venue chose to press charges independently, leading to legal repercussions for Mark's mother for trespassing and interfering with private property. Rachel and Mark found themselves entangled in the legal proceedings as well, most recently their lawyer. I chose not to settle quietly. This is not just about me, but about anyone who has been mistreated, manipulated, or disrespected. Although my wedding did not go as planned, I gained something more valuable, my self-respect. I refused to let them take away my dignity and use their attempts to undermine me to expose their deceit. When Mark begged me not to destroy his life, I remained silent because I did not ruin it. He did that on his own. Sometimes life does not give you a fairy tale ending, but instead, you find strength, empowerment, and honesty. And that, for me, is a happy ending.